we're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insight, new style, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Wednesday, July 30th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Ki Kim.
Happy Hump Day.
Happy Wednesday to you too, and also Jim Kozak's with us today.
Hi, great to be here.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's Wednesday, which means we're going to begin with our keyword news, where we look at a story that has been gaining traction over the past 24 hours. Today's keyword is wedding costs. So wedding costs in South Korea remain high, but there are signs that they may be easing slightly. According to the Korea Consumer Agency, the average cost for wedding services, including venues, studio, dress, and makeup, came to 20.7 million Korean won, or nearly $15,000, down 1.3% compared to 2 months ago. While costs have been slowly decreasing over the past few months, weddings remain a strong financial commitment, with the average meal price per guest in Seoul's Gangnam district coming to around $60 per person, nearly double the amount it costs in Gyeongsang-do province. So, Jim, looking back on your own wedding, do you feel like the cost is worth it? And what are things that you might do differently looking back?
Well, yes, as an international couple, actually we had 2 weddings. So one in Hawaii in the USA and one in Korea. Well, in the Korean wedding, we had over 300 guests, 200 of them being family. And actually, it was quite pricey, but we did get married in Busan. So compared to those Gangnam prices, it was a lot cheaper. For Hawaii, we only really carried the cost of maybe the dress, a photographer, a minister, an ukulele player. So it was much simpler, but a lot of fun. So I think it was a good experience to have both.
Right. It also sounds a lot more intimate. Also, quick question. So is there anything special about Hawaiian weddings? I know you have flower necklaces and stuff.
Right. So usually people wear the flower necklaces. They're called leis. The men wear ones made of a kukui nut. It's a kind of nut. And women wear plumeria. And another fun fact, if you're married, you wear the flower on the left side of your head. And if you're not married, single, you wear it on your right. Everyone knows who's married and single.
I guess Hawaiian weddings are the place to go.
Yeah, right.
So what about you, Ki? Are there any aspects of your wedding you might approach differently? And what expenses do you feel like were, on the other hand, genuinely worthwhile?
Well, it really depends on what the couple wants, especially what bride wants.
Very important.
And when I got married, we had nearly 800 guests, and the food we served for the guests were concerned, and how many people would actually sit down and eat, because we had to make a down payment. And I was lucky enough that I got some help for what we call sudume in Korean. That's the meaning of photo studio, dress, and makeup. And as we both worked in broadcasting and under the condition, they use our photos for their promotion purpose. We had many of wedding-related costs either discounted or free, but that's where lots of Korean people spend money on. My cousin's couple, on the other hand, groom was from Hong Kong and had a Japanese mother, and the bride was from Japan, but originally from Korea.
Wow.
So then they decided to live in Japan. So they sort of had 3 weddings, one in Korea, one in Hong Kong, and one in Japan. So the one that I felt the most worthwhile was the honeymoon, actually, and I don't think anyone, unless they're super rich, would have such a luxurious trip ever in their lives. A top-class hotel, champagne and caviar, great food, shopping, expensive tour, and so on.
So even as someone who has no wedding plans anytime soon, that's actually really interesting. So I guess spending more on your honeymoon is probably a better choice, I guess.
For me.
Yeah.
So it's clear that while weddings are a meaningful milestone, the pressure to spend can sometimes overshadow the purpose. So whether it's a big celebration or something small and simple and intimate, what really matters is what comes after the marriage itself. And that concludes our keyword news for this Wednesday. So as we make our way through the middle of the work week, we're turning our attention to a topic that's becoming increasingly relevant in Korea as its population becomes more global. And it's a topic that ties in closely with our keyword discussion today. So let's take a look at the screen to learn more. South Korea can no longer be described as a single ethnicity nation. Its population is becoming more diverse as international marriages continue to rise steadily. And among these, there's been a particularly noticeable increase in marriages between Korean men and Japanese women. Today, we'll take a closer look at this growing trend, exploring the reasons behind it, the experiences of those involved, and what it means for Korean society as a whole. So as we just saw in the video, international marriages are becoming more common in Korea, and the makeup of Korean society is gradually shifting to reflect that growing diversity. So for today's main discussion, we're going to dive into what's behind this trend, what's drawing people together from across borders, how these multicultural couples are building their lives here, and what it all means for Korean society. And we're joined today by the perfect guest for this topic. So welcome to the show, Jem. So could you start by introducing yourself to our viewers?
Yes, so hi, I'm Jem Kozak. I've been married for 15 years to a Korean man, and I've been living in Korea for 10 years. We have 2 children. I have a 9-year-old. She's a 3rd grader now in Korean public school, and a 5th grader, 5-year-old who's in kindergarten, and he's also going to Korean kindergarten.
So 15 years of marriage and 10 years of living in Korea. So we really look forward to hearing your insight, because I think you're the best person to talk about this. So Ki, we're seeing more and more international couples like Jem here these days, right? Can you tell us more about the increase?
Sure. So according to the 2024 marriage statistics analyzed by Statistics Korea, marriages in general, which had dropped sharply during the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, are now back on the rise. So if you take a look at the screen, actually, last year, the number of Korean and non-Korean marriages increased by 5.3% compared to the previous year, and it's way more than compared to the year 2021, as you can see down there. When broken down by the nationality, Vietnamese, American, and Chinese spouses were among the most common, and notably, marriages between Korean men and Japanese women saw a remarkable 40% increase from the year before, marking the highest figure in the past decade.
So it looks like in particular there's been a noticeable rise in marriages between Korean men and Japanese women. So what do you think is driving that trend, Ki?
Well, the recent analysis by Japanese media reveals that the Korean wave, Hallyu, which first gained momentum in the early 2000s, fostered a favorable view of Korea among Japanese women over 40, probably thanks to Winter Sonata or 겨울연가. And today, a new generation is following the suit. Young Japanese are also embracing Korean culture, thanks in part to the widespread influence of social media, which has made cross-border connections easier and more natural than ever before. And another thing to look at is Korea's rising economic standing, with South Korea's GDP now surpassing that of Japan. The income gap between the 2 countries has narrowed, and a striking reversal of the trend seen back in 1970s and 80s, when many Korean women were marrying Japanese men. We're now witnessing the opposite dynamic. And as I went to college in Japan, many of my friends actually did get married with Japanese ladies, mainly because they have a job in Japan, but I did see many Korean men and Japanese women couple.
That's really interesting, because like Winter Sonata, that's all obviously was popular, like you said, in the early 2000s. I guess seeing now will be K-pop stars.
Exactly.
So but it's not only that, it's just also the economic side of it. Korea is now being seen as a place that's good to also settle. So you yourself, Jem, as we said before, you're in an international marriage. You're married to a Korean man. So can you tell us a bit about how you met and about your decision to live in Korea instead of Hawaii? And also, what has been some cultural perks and also some of the challenges that you faced along the way?
Yes, well, I think one of the things about being married with an international couple is certainly that as a perk, we get to celebrate lots of holidays, especially Halloween or also here, Lunar New Year. And I think it's really great that we always have something to celebrate with 2 cultures. As far as challenges, I think it's a little bit hard to move abroad. I first met my husband in university, so it's been many, many years, actually. We met in a Korean English language exchange. I was learning Korean, he was learning English. I was already into Korean culture because I was into first-generation K-pop, actually. Groups like HOT and Shinhwa, a millennial here, so you know. But definitely, I think it's great to live abroad, but there's always that part of us that he'll miss Korea and I'll miss the USA. So we're always a little bit homesick sharing the 2 cultures.
What are some things you guys both do? Like, for example, like when you're in Korea, is there anything else you do besides, like, you know, obviously celebrating holidays is big. Is there anything you do to keep the Hawaiian culture kind of alive?
Oh, yeah. Well, I do try to teach my kids hula.
Oh, I see.
I wish I could do it well myself. But actually, yeah, Hawaiian culture is different from mainland US culture.
Right.
So it's really good to mix all 3, but maybe learning ukulele, learning hula, foods, spam, eating spam. That's one of them too. Yes.
So to hear more about this spike in international marriages and their experiences, especially those between Japanese and Korean partners, we're going to talk to a Japanese woman who's married to a Korean man. And that conversation is coming up right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
News Gen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Chihiro Kim, a Japanese woman who's married to a Korean man. So hi Chihiro, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello, thanks for having me again.
So what year did you get married, and at that time did your family or friends have any concerns or objections to it?
Yeah, I got married in 2015, so this year marks our 10th anniversary. And back then, the relationship between Japan and Korea was a bit tense. And so both of our fathers were somewhat concerned, and mostly about, cultural differences and how our lives would turn out. But interestingly, both of our mothers were very supportive. And they were like, as long as you're happy together, we're happy. And they are the ones who, persuaded our fathers. And so I think that balance between our families helped a lot. And now both sides get along very well.
So have you noticed that there seem to be more couples made of a Korean man and Japanese women lately? And how do you think things have changed compared to the past?
Yes, I definitely think so. Compared to 10 years ago, I feel like I see more Korean husband and Japanese wife couples just by chance, like when I'm out at local shopping malls. And back then, Korean dramas and cultures were already popular in Japan, but it still felt like something that existed mostly on TV. And now the rise of K-pop and the fact that Japanese and Korean shows are more accessible through streaming services. And it feels like the cultural distance between the two countries has really narrowed. And I think that's made it easier for people from both sides to meet and connect and understand each other.
Great. What's your perception of how Korean-Japanese couples are viewed nowadays, and do you think the attitudes have shifted over time?
I think the perception of Korean-Japanese couple has changed a lot compared to the past. And I feel that thanks to the increasing number of well-known Korean-Japanese couples being featured on TV, and last year especially, there was a Japanese drama featuring Korean-Japanese couple, and it was a big hit. And compared to when we got married, it feels more and more natural for people to accept Korean-Japanese relationships. And people around us have been very supportive. And honestly, we've really rarely had any negative experiences. And of course, some stereotypes will exist. Stereotypes still exist, but overall, I feel like things are definitely moving in a positive direction. And I really hope that connections across countries will continue to grow in the future.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight. Also, congrats on the 10th anniversary of your marriage as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just heard from someone who has first-hand experience, giving us valuable insight into what it really is like to be part of an international marriage here in Korea. So we often hear that the younger generation, especially millennials and Gen Zs, tend to have a more positive attitude towards international marriages. Ki, do you feel like this is true? Have you noticed a shift in people around you, how they view these relationships?
So people going abroad and working around the world, media sharing what's happening around the world, all these things around our everyday life has been contributing factors. They have significantly lowered the barriers between countries, especially among the MZ generations. Having grown up with easy access to foreign culture and content shows a much higher level of familiarity and openness toward the world. In fact, recent surveys confirm this trend. The younger the age group, the greater the acceptance of the multicultural societies. So Korea's Ministry of Gender Equality and Family released the results of the 2024 National Multicultural Acceptance Survey. And according to a report, the multicultural acceptance score among Korean adults in 2024 reached 53.4 points, an increase of 1.1 points compared to 2021's score of 52.3 43. And while the score had been a downward trend since peaking at 54 in 2015, this year's rebound marks the second highest level ever recorded since the survey began. And the data also shows a clear generational pattern. The younger generations demonstrating higher levels of multicultural acceptance. And this index is actually a nationally recognized statistic conducted every 3 years and serves as a key reference in shaping Korea's social integration policies, even at the National Assembly.
So I guess that's not too surprising. If you think about it, I feel like younger generation tend to be more exposed to diverse cultures through social media, and they tend to also travel more as well.
Exactly.
So we asked Chihir about this earlier, but what's your perspective on this, Jim? Have you seen any changes recently, whether it's people's perceptions or the number of international marriages?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, my daughter goes to a fairly small school, but I see a lot of multicultural children, and definitely the attitude and perception has changed because they grew up together. The idea of having multicultural friends is really no big deal. So when I come pick her up from school, nobody looks twice. I do feel that adults and the elderly still, they get curious about what the children look like, so they might sneak a peek at our family or be a little curious, ask a few questions.
So your daughter goes to a Korean school, right?
Yes,
and
Korean
there's
public
still a lot
school.
of multicultural children.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Do you also feel like things have changed like 10 years ago, like since you've been here?
Oh, yes. Especially the area where I live, you can see more and more multicultural families in the last 5 years even. So I think a huge increase.
So it's clear that people's views on international marriages have shifted significantly in recent years. What was once considered unusual is now becoming more accepted and normalized, especially among younger generations. And this change reflects broader social trends from increased globalization to evolving attitudes about culture, identity, and family. So to get a broader perspective, we turned to our viewers on the Arirang News YouTube channel and asked, what are the concerns when it comes to international marriages? And here's what they said. So cultural differences were cited as the biggest concern, accounting for 62% of responses. Language barriers followed at 24%, while economic instability was mentioned by 7%. Another 7% of respondents pointed to other concerns. So it looks like a majority of people seem to agree that cultural differences pose the biggest challenge when it comes to international marriages, and navigating different traditions, languages, and values can create hurdles for couples and their families. But beyond these challenges, international marriages also bring unique opportunities and benefits. So with that in mind, what do you think are some of the positive social impacts that these marriages have, not only for couples themselves, but also for the wider communities and society as a whole, Jim?
Yeah, well, absolutely, because people grow up together with people from different cultures. It becomes not even a thing anymore. There's no you and me, no difference. And I think really blending our cultures together, making a cultural collaboration has resulted in many great things, like these days K-pop Demon Hunters or the musical Maybe Happy Ending. So putting minds from different backgrounds together, I think, is a really great benefit to society.
Right, there are all benefits that come from it. But on the other hand, while international marriages offer many benefits, are there any challenges, downsides that you believe are important for us to keep in mind? And what difficulties do couples and their families often face that society should be more aware of?
Well, this has been going on for a while. Commercial international marriage have been particularly common in rural areas of Korea, but the growing criticism that these arranged marriages promote transactional relationships and reinforce gender inequality, and that has led to a decline in institutional support. And it's a reminder of the darker side of international marriage in Korea, and complex issue that continues to raise ethical and social concerns.
So with multicultural households on the rise, what support systems or policies do you think Korea should put in place to better prepare for this growing diversity?
Yes, so we do have some policies and laws that are beneficial for multicultural families. For example, children from multicultural families are given priority when enrolling in public kindergartens, a policy that's designed to support their early integration and educational opportunities. And we certainly need more of these. And also, when I go to kindergarten to pick up my kid, I see many kids from multicultural families. And it's a relief to see how they are adapting. But sometimes, like Jem said before, the way people look at the family, I can tell, are somewhat different sometimes. So we need to accept the changes that's taking place and change our perceptions and just take them as they are in our society.
Right, so that's a really important perspective, but it's also encouraging to hear the policies like kindergarten enrollment is helping with early integration. But as you said, obviously, societal perceptions are also very crucial. So as someone raising a child in a multicultural family, you likely have first-hand experience with both the challenges and joys that come with it. And I'm sure your perspective could shed a light on what kind of support families like yours truly need. So Jem, what are your thoughts on how Korea can better support these multicultural families?
Well, I absolutely agree with Ki about introducing policies. That would be really great. Also, a lot of computer and government systems are not quite adapted to longer names. So whether you have like a more international name, I think it would be good to make it more comfortable to use these kinds of systems. Also give more autonomy to the foreign parent in access to, banking or getting government documents, things like that. It's often hard to do it on your own as the foreign parent. So I think that would really help to make a smoother transition into Korean society for multicultural families.
And you're talking about the family registry 호적, right?
Right, yes.
So what kind of difficulties have you faced because of that?
Oh, well,
how does that system work?
So actually I can get one in my children's name and my husband's name, but I cannot get one with my name on top. So I often have to take extra steps or bring my husband along to do these kind of assignments, I should say.
So I guess like these policies are still kind of outdated, and I feel like it would be really uncomfortable for foreign spouses to have to rely on their, for example, for women, because they tend to be more hands-on.
Right,
children
right.
too.
Especially for going to school, there's so many documents, so many things I need to prepare, but it's kind of hard to ask my husband, hey, could you come along with me? So yeah, I think it would really help to introduce these kinds of things.
Right, so as we've seen today, international marriages are reshaping the social landscape in Korea, bringing both new challenges and valuable opportunities. And embracing diversity means not only celebrating cultural differences, but also building stronger support systems to ensure that every family can thrive. And this ongoing conversation is important for all of us as Korea continues to grow into a more multicultural society. So we're also conducting a program survey that includes News Generation until August 17th to better meet our viewers' expectations. So please visit us at www.arirang.com or on the Arirang TV mobile app to share your valuable feedback. And by participating, you'll also have a chance to win Bluetooth earbuds and exclusive K-pop merchandise. And this brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation, but News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. A big thanks to Ki.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Also, Jem.
Thank you.
And to all our viewers, thank you so much for watching. We hope you have the best day. We are
News Generation.